NBA 2K26 is around the corner. In today's video, I wanted to dive into an important topic. This should actually help those who get into debates or have strong feelings about one thing or another. This should probably give you the best perspective overall as we dive into some of the most important things to keep note while you're thinking about that. Let's get into it and talk about NBA 2K. First and foremost, this goes for other games. I have spent a lot of time researching human psychology while also being a hardcore gamer, spending thousands, probably millions by now of hours. I do content full time. So, I'm in it to win it, as well as having to run leagues, tournaments as a manager, organizer, and so much more, and getting to see every side, both as a player and as someone that has to make sure everything is in fair play. So the conversation is about what is fair for the players. And the truth is, the community always shapes the rules and regulations, right? A video game designer can do anything that they want in the game, and then the community will say, hey, this is not allowed, this is valid, or this is invalid. Depending on the community, there's certain things that will be restricted and that won't be restricted, right? Certain shooters, for example, will have limitations of weapons or things like that. And if there's bugs, you cannot use a glitch or an exploit to get an advantage, right? I think we all agree with that. But the problem with that is that a lot of times people will even disagree with that. So if a event, a tournament, or anything has a specific rule that you don't like, then guess what? You don't want to play in that because it doesn't let you do what you like to do within the game, right? So with that being said, all those people, take everything I'm about to say with a grain of salt about the fact that there's so many variables and it's hard to get into all of them as we go. We're watching some old footage of like the first month of 2K, by the way, but I want to just get into this very, very clearly. With all that in mind, our preferences and play styles and things that we think is good or bad can vary, right? And there's a couple of conversations about 2K25 going into 26 that is undeniable, right? The RNG conversation isn't about the RNG itself, right? We think we all could understand that the devs were trying to do something, but the cheaters are cheating either way. And so to me, I wouldn't say just go back to the way it was for the past 20 years, but they have to do something else if they want to try to combat cheaters. And so the conversation becomes, okay, what if we just do one shot timing, right? But that's fine too. They created this thing where you have a variable amounts of shots where you still have a green window no matter what, but it moves around and it changes. Okay. Now there's a thing about it changing specifically if you're doing a fade, if you're doing a standstill catch and shoot, if you're doing a off the dribble, step back, all of the variety of shots will have different timings. And this is the big conversation that I want to start off with, is that happens with layups as well. And even dunks when you're doing skill dunks. And so the conversation that I'm bringing up is, I do believe that that is a fair way for them to create a skill gap and to make it harder for people. And I think the community should get used to, yeah, well, guess what? You did a fade, you might have to hold the shot a little longer because it's a different animation. Or if you're just standing still, you're gonna catch and shoot quick. It's not gonna be, the longest animation in the game. If I'm doing a turnaround fade, I should hold the button a little longer. Things like that are actually viable to the game, guaranteed. Now, the big debate about the RNG is that should that be in the game? And there's no question that it shouldn't, and Mike Wayne himself confirmed that it was specifically to combat the cheaters. And while that's true, that doesn't mean that it's okay. And the truth is it's a tough time for them to sort out the rule within their mechanics. And then it's up to us to support or be against it. I am for competitive play because I believe that a casual will get good enough in any hardcore game if the game is fun. The difficulty doesn't make the games fun, in my opinion. So having a game that's too hard or too easy, there's different games that can be fun with whatever way you want to make it. So if it is too hard, you make it fun for that reason. And that's something that I'm okay with. And I say that to say, things like skill dunking, for example. It is something that some people really hated when it first got into the game. Other people's love it. I personally, as you can see in this video, I adapted and I got good at it regardless of how I felt because I knew it was the most efficient way to score, right? It's going to be very hard for people to stop that. And so in a competitive sense, this makes sense because now it's about how good am I timing that and making that opportunity show up. When you watch these clips, for example, I am creating space before I go up for a contact dunk. I'm not just doing the contact dunk because I feel like it. I'm doing the contact dunk only when I have an angle. Like, for example, it's a big guy there, but he was under the rim. He wasn't pushing up on me, and I knew when to dunk. These type of things are the best way to figure out that if you could dunk or not. Okay. So that is kind of where the truth is the second topic, the bigger topic is, the skill gap, but there's a skill gap. Every game, no matter what it is, you can make a video game with your eyes closed. If there's multiplayer, there's always a skill gap because somebody will find how to get really good at it and maybe you won't. And so Mario Kart is a casual game, but guess what? There's people who will destroy you. And it doesn't mean that the developers made the game to be like, you got to be the best skilled player. They just made a fun game. And so 2K has to take that in mind and understand that, yes, putting these very difficult things into the game and making them worth it to learn. So to me, the skill dunk was a success. Rhythm shooting was introduced at the wrong time because RNG shooting was also introduced and people associate rhythm shooting with that at first. And that's false. And so I haven't given rhythm shooting a fair chance mentally either, even though I have more perspective in life and I have practiced rhythm shooting. And I think it feels good to do, especially the fades, aka the pull-ups. When I say fade, I mean pull-up. So that's just something that I personally really don't want the community to confused is, this game's too hard or this is too complicated. It is not. There are things that should be standard, next level things, and shooting should have something different. And the conversation starts being, but if I shoot with the button, it doesn't give me the boost. Yes, it doesn't. It's just like a shot meter. But the problem there is when you're getting too much of a boost, exaggerated, And so either way, if I go for a contact dunk, for example, and somebody is outside of the paint and they're just standing there with their hands up, I'm going to get called for a charge or I'm not going to get the contact dunk. I've done this to many players with my defense. And this is called understanding how to play defense, right? So that's where you see like all these contact dunks are because I have somewhat of an angle on these guys. But the truth is, if I was to just try to force it, it won't work out. See, this guy was under the rim for that contact dunk. So you're watching somebody who's skilled at this and knows how to do it well. But what I'm saying is, same thing with rhythm shooting. There isn't a lot of penalties for you. Somebody's in front of you, they're going to stop you from making that shot. rhythm shooting really only penalize you for bad timing, not enough for contests. And so that's kind of where some of my feelings are about like the things that they could do to evolve the game in different ways, right? So just take that into consideration. And now I'm going to go into the MyCore for a second and talk about the variable things that we've seen. For example, my dunk meter, see how fast that dunk was as far as timing goes. But if I did it from for like back here, I'll get way more time and I'll be able to easily do that because it's a different kind of dunk. But if I stand under the rim, sometimes the timing is different. So these are things that do exist and that have to be worked on from our side. And the same thing with rhythm shooting. I haven't really shot rhythm shooting in a bit. See how easy it is right there? But if I start practicing more, I might miss. But the contest is a different story. You're going to have to get used to rhythm shooting while you're dribbling and you're doing all your stuff, do a quick stop and then shoot your shot. But these are things that the devs got to take into consideration. And the reason I'm bringing these two topics together, and the main point of this is with the RNG system, it's not a competitive thing that's healthy for the game, you know? And I understand the point of what they were trying to do and why they did it. And again, I totally understand people who hate it. I really do. The RNG is killing the competitive side also, in my opinion, because all of a sudden you now are rewarding, you know, bad players because they might make more shots than they would have if not. It's like they just timed it bad and it happened to be the RNG that helped them with that. So this is not okay. And so to combat cheaters, hey, you're a $1 billion corporation. You might want to go and spend more money on anti-cheating systems. And yeah, you can't stop the hardware. And I'm talking directly to 2K, but you can't stop the hardware changes and the fixes, but you can stop, you know, things on accounts. If there's a way to detect this stuff somehow, there's got to be something, and you got to work with the company and do something. You're a $1 billion corporation. Start a partnership directly with these platforms. You know, start off with PlayStation because that's where I play on. Thank you. But for everybody else listening, that was just a message for Mike Wayne and them. But everybody else listening, you know, the conversation that I'm trying to have about opening your mind to knowing that like these features are supposed to be here. I had a big debate about, you know, layups and things like that. They're like, oh, there's so many different timings for the layups. I'm tired of this. And it's true. And you're not wrong. And the person speaking on that and people feeling that way, it's a lot. I had to lab up, you know, like which is the best layup timing that I can do. The scoops are the ones that I practice the most because I'm like, you know what? I got to practice the scoops, left scoop, right scoop. And then when a defender's on me, I'll just do the scoop. And I know the timing. And now I'm not going to get it every time because if they play good defense and they change it into a contact layup, I have to time it a bit different as well. So that's where the skill gap and the person who plays more should be rewarded. Like, hey, he understands all of it. Same thing with the shooting, you know, but there's things, like I said, the RNG that shouldn't exist and the community shouldn't be punished for cheaters. So that's just my opinion. But I did want to kind of touch on some of the stuff that was announced for 2K26, which was they're removing the real player percentage for layups in competitive modes. I'm not sure which modes. They didn't announce every mode and all that, but hopefully they got more details. I want it on every online mode. It should be for everything. You shouldn't be able to go online and just have a automatic button in the game. Simple as that. And that's a competitive integrity that's being crushed again. So hopefully they fix that. Secondly, the profiles, they didn't talk about it yet, but low profile is going to be the new real player percentage. If they keep it into the game and they keep normal, people are just going to have it on low profile and then hope for the best. So you're basically feeding into not being a competitive game. You know, I never heard of that in like a Mario Kart game where they're like, press the easy button. No, you get on the race and you race other people. And if you're not good, you're not good. And that's a game for 5-year-olds. 2K is embarrassing for allowing these settings on online modes. If we go offline, I'm totally fine with them having every feature. Like, let the game play for me. Let me just hold the controller. I don't care. But online, the moment I'm going against another player, they got to do the right thing. That's just my personal opinion. And then if we get into, you know, the green or miss, that was a great thing that they announced. They're basically bringing back pure windows. They basically confirmed that. Now, this game had green windows, but it didn't have green or miss. And this, again, is just a simple feature that should exist already. The competitive integrity is dead, and it needs to stop, and it needs to end. And so hopefully they'll take that and understand they need to do it for everything. All right. That's just my personal opinion. So an example to be hardcore, an example is when I go to hit the button to do a layup or dunk, for example, my percentage should be lower than somebody who's doing it with the right stick. Same thing with shooting, right? Like if we're going to do that, we're going to go into purely like true competitive scene, make the right stick buff the way it is with rhythm shooting, and make the right stick buff for dunks and layups. You know, the skilled always win. So that's just my opinion. You don't have to agree. I know that's extra hardcore at the end there, but I do believe that would change the experience in 2K. All of a sudden, nobody can have an excuse anymore, and everybody has to be as good as they need to be. And all of a sudden, even Mario Kart, you finally compete with the competitive integrity of Mario Kart. You get in the car and you play, and whoever's better wins. None of this change my settings or have features that don't help. And that's my rant on competitive integrity. I've been ranting about this all year. I'm hoping 2K26 changes a lot of these things. And I do want to take a moment to say thank you to the devs for taking out layup timing and then putting green or miss. And then hopefully they do a lot more. So somebody clip that part of my video and not the whole rant. Send it to the devs, man. But yeah, hope y'all enjoyed, and let's just have a conversation about what else you feel is fair play that they need to add or remove to make the game more authentic. For like, hey man, you're going online. And again, if you're an offline player and you're like, hey, I just want to jump on and chill, I don't want to have to learn the game, that's okay. I'm not judging you, you know. But yeah, man, we've been covering this, getting into a lot of different topics. Hope y'all enjoy this one. Let competitive integrity live in NBA 2K. That's where we at. All right. See y'all in the comments. Go check out that next one. We dropped a bunch of stuff of what's coming from NBA 2K26. See you there.